It's a layer that's like as thick as your finger. It has to land on the landscape in a depression that is sinking and being buried.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Valley of the Last Dinosaurs. This week it's Question Tuesday again, and we got a really cool question from the internet. This one comes to us from a guy named John Zawiskie, and he's in Detroit at the Cranbrook Institute of Science. And he's asking, what is the structure of the asteroid fallout layer like in the Hell Creek Formation? Is it similar to what we see in southern Colorado? I think that's a great question, and I happen to be in the field right now with Dr. Kirk Johnson, one of the world experts on this subject, so I thought I might pitch the question to him.
Well, the thing about this layer, and it's about as thick as my finger right here, is that it comes and goes. Because if you think about it, it falls out of the sky onto the landscape, and no landscape is perfectly flat. So it falls in these little depressions, and on the highlands, it rains into the depressions. So what happens is that you get it in pockets and places here and there. So in just one valley, we have it here, but not there, but here and not there, and you have to dig around and find it. But whenever you find it, it's about 1 centimeter thick. That's the same if you dig a hole in Alberta, or a hole in Saskatchewan, or a hole in Montana, or a hole in Colorado. So up along the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains, the fallout layer, when you have it, is about 1 centimeter thick, or about as thick as your finger. You go elsewhere in the world, it gets thinner. You get closer to the asteroid impact zone, it gets a lot thicker.
Wow, that makes sense, because that's where the impact actually happened.
Yeah, and if you were, say, in Belize, when that thing happened, you would see blocks the size of buildings raining down on you. And the layer in places there like 300 or 400 feet thick.
Oh my gosh. So when you don't have it because of erosion or because it wasn't deposited, it's inconsistent. But where you do see it, you see a pretty specific pattern, I guess.
Yeah, you can actually see the parts of the layers, the stuff that rained down fast and stuff that drifted down on top of it. So you get a very nice little sequence. It's called the micro stratigraphy, because you're looking at layer by layer at a millimeter scale level to understand what's going on. And we really get happy when we find a spot where you can actually see the layer and it's well preserved. And we just found this one this morning. We're pretty psyched because the layer is bright white. It's got a little thin coal seam on top of it. And you can see it goes right into the hill here. So we can dig back, get really nice fresh exposure, and then go in and very carefully look at its little tiny layers and try to figure out what happened as the debris started raining down. And you're looking at stuff that was blown here to North Dakota from Mexico, which always blows my mind.
That blows my mind too. So I know we're in the Mud Buttes field area, and I've heard that name tossed around a lot. This was a pretty significant find, right?
This is the second place in North Dakota that we found the KT boundary. We found it here in 2000. And what was nice about this spot was we actually found the little tiny round balls called the spherules. Oh, and wow. These are droplets of molten rock from the crater itself that are blown out of the crater as molten rock. And as they fly through the air, they cool into glass balls.
No way.
And then the glass balls rain down on the landscape. So here you are in North Dakota where there's this layer of little tiny glass balls. Now they've weathered over years to become clay balls, but they were glass when they started out. You can actually see some of them look like little dumbbells, some have little teardrops, some have little tails. Very characteristic features of what you do when you throw molten glass through the air and it cools in the air and lands on the landscape. So there was a point in time about 66.02 million years ago when it was raining glass beads in North Dakota.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. You know, we learn a lot about deep time. We're used to thinking in terms of gradual everything and time averaging, but this is a moment in time right here, right?
Yeah, I always say, just because it happened a long time ago doesn't mean it took a long time to happen.
Wow.
This thing was like boom, now, boom. And it was so cool about it is that it's a global event. So we found this layer at over 300 places around the globe, 100 of those on sites that were land at the time.
Oh my gosh, so you've been around the world looking at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I've been chasing it for really now almost 35 years, because the asteroid impact hypothesis came out in 1980. It's 2016 now, and I got interested in 1981.
Oh wow.
On the dog in this thing, I went to all over the place. I went to Northern Asia, I went to Southern Asia, I went to Australia, New Zealand, I went to South America, I went to Europe, and India, and all those places. I keep coming back to North Dakota, because in North Dakota, you have not only the layer, but you have an incredible fossil record below the layer and an incredible fossil record above the layer. So I had that simple question in 1981 was find the layer, then go downhill, look at what you see, then go uphill, look at what you see, you have a before and after. And in fact, that's what we're doing here still 35 years later in North Dakota.
Well, that's so cool. John Zawiskie, thanks so much for your question. That was a really interesting one. I'm really glad that we had a time to talk to Dr. Kirk Johnson about it. And So to answer his question, is it about the same there in Colorado?
Yeah, if I could take you to a spot in Colorado, it would look just like this, a 1 centimeter thick layer with a little coal seam on top of it.
Cool.
And that layer's got all the stuff.
Well, this is such a cool story. Thanks so much for your question. And everybody else at home, please send us some more questions and we'll try to get a great scientist to answer them on a video. See you next time.
Cheers.